Good evening and welcome to tonight's driver's ed class. We'll wait for people to sign on in and we'll get ready to go. Let me just turn down the music just a little bit. Kind of hard. Sometimes it's being played through my speakers and sometimes I can't hear it too well because of my headphones, and that makes it kind of loud for you. So we're at the end of the week, and today we will be talking about driving emergencies. What to do out on the road when the unexpected happens, what to do. It's a topic that is relevant, but I hope never happens to any of you when you're out on the road. And we'll talk about a few things that you can do to make sure that some of these things don't happen, because a lot of this stuff is preventable. A little bit of snow this morning. Driving wasn't too bad. It seemed to be freezing up though on the way home tonight. I noticed that the road was a little icy. I think we almost have we only have 5. Looks like we got more here on YouTube, but you've got to let me count. It says 5 people are watching, but there's more than 5 people listed here. This does not make sense. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're missing 2 people. And some people may have tuned in but tuned out. So it's more than just putting the comments. Most of you did the reactionary paper to the video. I was very pleased with the thought that people put into their answers, and they did a very good job. Although I think that the penalty that she received at the end was not the best. I think even though she was a minor, and I think that's probably why it was, just a year and then probation, why it was so light. But if she was an adult, if she was 19, 20, oh my goodness, you're looking at 10 years or more easily. So they go kind of easy on minors. And I don't necessarily think that's a good thing. But that's for states to come up with their own penalties, and we must live by the laws that are passed. I think we have enough, so what I'm going to do is just briefly explain how things are going to go tonight. We will do the first half of class with taking notes for driving emergency, and then the last half, you're going to have more than enough time. If you know your material, it goes quite quickly. I don't want you to rush. You only have one try. You can go back and look at your answers, but be very careful. It does get kind of glitchy when you go back. So take time, and I would answer each question and not go back if I was you. Half the test is on signs, like I said, and the rest is from information that we've had over the last 3 weeks. I do have some openings tomorrow. I believe have 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock open. If anybody wants to drive, make sure you send me a text. Sign up for Saturday morning, afternoon. I'd like to drive with a few of you, so please make yourself available, because I do think, and I didn't look at the newscast tonight, but this morning they were talking about snow, I think Monday, Tuesday. I'm not quite sure when it starts, when it ends, but I think it's going to be more than what we've had the last 2 days. The other thing that I want you to think about is that we've had it pretty nice for our driving environment, meaning it's been cold, but the pavement's been dry. There hasn't been any snow bankings to contend with, but once we start getting snow, and now that the college kids are coming back, your driving will be a lot more stressful. It'll be a lot more things to be thinking about and looking for. So, Colette, you could do 4. You got it. Your time tomorrow at 4. So I've got a 5 o'clock open. Who's the 3? Someone just signed up for 3. So it looks like I got 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock taken care of. So that's great. That's awesome. If anybody can drive on Saturday, please take advantage of that, because I do have some openings then. College kids are back. I noticed today they were dropping off, parents were dropping off their sons and daughters, and pedestrian traffic is picking up as well as vehicle traffic. So it's a good to be challenged as a driver, but it's not going to be quite as easy of things that we've done in the past. So, and we are getting to the end of our driving. I think I've got about 4 of you on track to be done by the end of the program in 2 weeks. So other people are going to have to step it up. Not that you have to be done, but when your class stops, another class starts, and they're going to be talking to me via text during their classes, signing up like we are right now for the days ahead. I will tell you that I have 3 or 4 people from the last class that are still trying to finish up their driving. So it just kind of snowballs, and I really would like to take advantage of the good weather that we have, at least in the next couple days, to get a majority of our driving in. Well, that kind of takes care of everything that I've got to do to explain what's going on. So let's kind of get right into driving emergencies. Remember, your Chapter 15 was your reading, Section 10 in the manual, and you were supposed to send me the questions for 15. And I may even post after tonight. I believe I've got a question like what we do the midterm with. So I will be sending you probably more questions dealing with driving emergencies. Of all the different topics that we discuss in driver's ed, this is the one topic that is not at the top of my list. I'll be honest. It's not my favorite topic to discuss. I look at it as learning first aid and CPR. I think most of you have to do that in school now. I think it's very important to learn it. But if I was to ask any of you, have you ever used first aid or CPR if you've been trained? And probably most of you will say no. So the same thing's going to kind of happen with what we talk about tonight. I think it's important that we have a basic understanding of steps to follow if some negative things happen with our vehicle, because we do have warning lights, we have gauges, we do have some idea when things are going to go bad. So sometimes we can prevent these things from, even starting. But sometimes it just happens. It would be like if someone was playing sports and they had a heart attack. Okay, no one knew. No one would have an idea that that was going to happen that day. But now you've got a person on the ground. He needs help. He needs CPR. Someone has to help him, because if you don't, then the person, may lose their life. Because maybe there won't be enough time for an EMT to come and take over and give the needed care. So when we talk about driving emergencies in a car, we have to deal with it right off, because we can't get the car to a mechanic. We can't get it necessarily to the best place. We've got to deal with the situation right where you're at. So I don't expect you to remember every single step that we talk about, but I do think that you should have a general knowledge base of grasping and knowing 3 or 4 steps, maybe not in order, but things that should be done in order to make a situation better. All right? It may not always work out perfectly, but I think we just don't want things to get worse. The first thing I want you to write down with driving emergencies in your notes is think before you act. It's very common for people to see smoke and, there's smoke coming from your hood and just totally lose it. They think the car is going to be like a bomb. It's going to just totally blow up. Well, have you looked at your dash? Have you looked at your gauges? What is the information that you're getting inside the car? But most people just look at the smoke and they start to, freak out. And they're not thinking about, overheating. I see my temperature gauge is too high. So let me roll down the windows, turn on the heat inside, and you'll notice that the gauge goes down a little bit. You still get smoke, and then you start looking for a place to pull over. But we're going to talk about that. That's coming up. But I just want to kind of give you an example of that. The first driving emergencies that we're going to discuss right here is going to be something that happens to all of us. At some point in your life, when you're driving, you're going to run off the pavement. You're going to take a turn too fast, or you're going to turn the wheel too soon, and the right side of your car, it's usually the right side of your car, goes off the edge of the pavement. If it's too much of a drop-off, let's say from the edge of the pavement to the dirt is a 3 to 4 inch drop-off, that's kind of substantial. So when you come back on the pavement, there's a good chance you're going to rub the sidewall of your tire onto the pavement, and you could rip or tear your tire, and now you've got a flat tire. You've got a blowout. And of course, the faster you go, the more severe the pull of your car going off the edge of the road, because you've got 2 tires off the pavement on the right, you've got 2 tires on the pavement on the left, so that's unequal amount of traction on the roadway. It's going to create a problem. So let's take it step by step. You're off the edge of the roadway. The first thing you want to do is make sure you have both hands on the wheel and you're gripping it very tightly. The car is going to pull to the right. Now, the one thing I want you to remember, and I think I've got it on the midterm, so this is good that you're listening. All driving emergencies should start with steering. Everything that you do with a driving emergency should start with, do I have control of my car? Is my car heading into a space that is safe? Am I going to hit a guardrail? Am I going to hit a telephone pole? Am I going to hit another car or a person? All driving emergency starts with steering. Get control of your car. Then deal with the pedals. Could be the gas, could be the brake. In this situation, it's let go of the gas pedal. The minute you let go of the gas pedal, there's no gas going to the engine. You're not going to be going faster. The weight of your vehicle is going to slow you down. Now, I've got a typo here. It says, do not step on the gas pedal. It should be brake pedal here. I don't know why I've got gas pedal. It's brake pedal. Don't step on the brake pedal suddenly or too hard. Step on it easy, because probably you haven't checked the traffic behind you and you don't want to cause a rear-end collision. So it's slowing the car down, okay, with looking in your mirror, seeing how close people. Now, they know you're off the edge. They're going to probably try to stay away from you because they don't know what you're going to do. Now, the next thing I want you to write down is that rather than get back onto the pavement, it'd probably be better to slow down and stop the vehicle, stay on the side of the road, regain your composure, think about what just happened. Maybe it's because you were, reaching for that donut on the passenger seat. Maybe you were looking at your phone. Maybe you were just going too fast. It's going to startle you. So pull over to the side of the road. Think for a moment why it happened. Okay. Calm down a bit, and then use your directional, check your mirrors, look over your shoulder, and then come back out into traffic. Let's say what would be the worst thing that could happen in this scenario? The 2 negative aspects that could happen is, one is an oversteer, which means the minute you go off the edge of the pavement to the right, you jerk the wheel to the left to get back on, but you turn the wheel too much, and now you shoot across your lane into the oncoming lane of traffic. Now you're going to have a head-on collision. You should only turn the wheel about a quarter of a turn. Anything more than a quarter, if you do a half or 3/4 of a turn, most definitely you're going to shoot right across the pavement, right into oncoming traffic. Now, the opposite of not getting back on the pavement is leaving the road entirely, is that the drop-off is more than 3 or 4 inches, and it continues to slope down, and it just sucks you right into a gully or trees or, an embankment. So you totally lose control of the vehicle. That would be the other thing that could happen. So let's take a look at a little video. Now, they're running off the pavement here, and it's only like an inch or two. So this is probably for the video because they didn't want anything really bad to happen. But there's an insurance company in Canada that gave driver's ed teachers a whole bunch of 60-second videos of different driving situations. And this is one that I still use. I'd like to kind of do my own at some point, but the time and effort that making those videos like I did yesterday takes a lot of time.
Drifting onto the gravel shoulder of a highway can lead to a serious collision.
The uneven traction could cause you to lose control of your vehicle and send you into the ditch.
In this situation, don't make any quick movements. Making a quick change or abruptly moving back onto the pavement could send your vehicle into the path of oncoming traffic.
A head-on collision could occur because of overcorrecting. You should grip the steering wheel firmly and slowly ease off the gas, but do not brake. When you feel you have control of the vehicle, check your mirrors, signal, and ease back onto the highway when safe.
If the drop-off to the shoulder is steeper than usual, slow down even more and steer back onto the pavement at an even sharper angle.
Okay, I'm going to bring this back a little bit so we can, I'm going to see if I can start it over
Drifting
again.
onto the gravel.
I'm going to move it up to where I think this is probably a good place to stop. Take a look at the slope. You know how I told you that if you're going too fast, you see how it slopes down towards the grass? Some roads, it's even more severe than that. That's what I'm talking about. You just can't get back onto the roadway. It keeps on sucking you down that way. And this is a pretty open area, so you really don't have to worry about too much. I don't see any telephone poles or guardrails. I mean, super close to the edge of the pavement. It's, you know, more than probably 10 feet from the grass. So you got plenty of time to regain control. But this is pretty severe of a slope.
And send you into the ditch.
So that's running off the pavement. One of the negative things of coming back onto the roadway is having a tire blowout. That's when you're having sudden loss of control of the vehicle because the air is leaving your tire almost immediately. And usually it's from hitting something that's extremely sharp. It's not from running over a nail or something like that. I mean, it's hitting a pothole. It's hitting the edge of the pavement when you're running off the pavement. It's where the tire just kind of pops like you would like with a balloon. The thing I want you to write down and to remember is that the vehicle will always pull to the side of the front tire that's blown. The back tire, okay, it doesn't matter whether it be right or left, it's going to fishtail. And what a fishtail is a swing out of the back end. And I want you to write down in your notes, a fishtail at high speeds will be more severe than a fishtail at lower speeds. And with every fishtail, so if the back end of your vehicle is swaying to the right, the next sway is going to be to the left. And every time that you counter, so if it swings to the right, you're actually turning the wheel to the right. Now the car's getting somewhat back in control, and then it's going to swing to the left a little bit. Now you're going to steer to the left a little bit, and then there's going to be a small counter sway to the right. So there's always going to probably be 3 little movements or fishtails to a blowout. So it goes right, left, right, and then you usually have control of the vehicle. Or it could go left, right, left, then have control of the vehicle. It all depends which tire in the back is blown. Now, on the front tire, the worst front tire to blow out is the one to the left, because the front left tire will pull you over the center line, over the yellow line, into oncoming traffic. And if you're going 65, 70 miles per hour, you're missing these cars that are coming by you, maybe by 5 or 6 feet. It's not going to take much to have the car just sway right towards that. So hold the steering wheel very tightly. And when it says straight ahead, if you see anything in the manual that talks about steering straight, what they really mean is staying in your lane. So in your notes, write down staying straight means staying in my lane. Ease off the gas pedal. Remember, everything is steering first, as we said earlier. Everything is steering. Then you're letting off the gas. Then you're going to the brake pedal. Brake only when you have control of the vehicle at lower speeds. I would probably say you would have to be right around 30, 35 miles per hour. I had a blowout. I wasn't with a student. I was with my brother. We were going to Pennsylvania with our wives for a vacation and going through Hartford, Connecticut on Interstate 84. I still can remember it. We were probably going about 60, 65 miles per hour, and we had a sudden blowout. Okay, it was scary. For about 15 seconds, it was kind of scary getting control of the vehicle. And then we were able to, get from lane to lane. We had to move. Remember, the next thing you're going to be doing is changing a tire. So now we've got our directional on. We're moving over lane by lane. I think we only had to move over 2 lanes before we get to the breakdown lane. And that's where we had to change a tire. But it's scary. And like I said, higher speed's going to make things worse. What are some of the causes from blowouts? If you have low tire pressure and you hit a pothole, bulges and cuts on a tire, debris in the road, could be glass, could be something metal. And those potholes that you see on the road, you may not think they're that bad, but you hit it just right and you don't have your tire pressure right, it's going to cause a blowout. And I don't know if I have tire pressure. I think that's coming up. Oh, here it is. Let's talk about how to check tire pressure. So let's watch this.
Hello, my name is Tom Bernstenoff, a certified master mechanic out of Reading, Pennsylvania, and today I'm going to show you how to put air in your tire. Now, anytime you think you got your tire a little bit low, the best thing to do is just check it with your tire pressure gauge. It should be checked every time you stop to put gas in your car. And most of us don't have time to do that, but if you ever get a chance to, every once in a while, before you go out on a little trip, just push this little gauge on here. This one's reading about 27 pounds. The recommended tire pressure is always on the side of the tire. It's usually marked in a little block similar to this here. If you don't find it on the tire, you can find it inside the driver's side door and on the label. That's the correct tire pressure for your vehicle. Now, when you pull into your local gas station, they have a little pump there. Sometimes it's free, quarter, 50 cents. What you do is you'll turn it on, push it up exactly the same way as this tire pressure gauge goes on your valve stem. You push it in here, fill it up. Periodically, you want to stop, put your gauge on it, check it. This one here, 44 pounds. You just fill it up till you get your 44 pounds on your gauge, just somewhere right around here. Put your cap back on once you get it up to pressure, and you're good to go.
Okay, pretty simple. Like he said, they've got the number on the side of the tire. You can use the door frame, and I think I showed that to you the first week of class. Now we have tire pressure monitors inside our vehicle. They're not as accurate as those gauges, but still you can have an idea whether you're getting a slow leak or not, which is really helpful, and that tells you need to go and check it out because you could have a nail. So here are some things, and he mentioned it, is he says check every time you get gas. Here it says check monthly. And remember, tires lose roughly about 1 pound per square inch per month. And as temperature gets colder, and by the way, tomorrow it's supposed to be in the teens. So I would imagine our tire pressure, if it was around 34, 35, will probably be right around 33. Don't rely on the tire pressure sensors that we said inside the car. Get the old gauges, what we just showed you there on that little clip, and check it more accurately that way. Let's see what else. Know that you have a tire pressure recommendation for a spare. And I only want to mention that is because most of us don't use the spare unless we have a flat tire. Well, that's the only time you would use it. So there's a good chance that if it's a full-size tire and you've had your car for 3 years, wonder if you got a flat tire and you go to put the spare on and the spare is out of air. So when you check your tire pressure, you should probably check to make sure that your spare tire, if it's a full-size tire, has enough pressure in it. So still use that gauge and check it that way. Here's an example of a worn tire. This is someone that probably had low tire pressure for a while and was driving extremely fast into their turns. Notice how it's just worn right out on the side, right down to the metal. So that's the steel belts that gives your tire rigidity. So that tire had a blowout right there. One day I was driving with a student on Saturday and we came across this car. in Dover, and I said, pull over to the side of the road. I want to take my cell phone. I want to take this picture. There was nobody in the car. If there were, then we would help the person. And by the way, we have helped people. I think it's always good for a student to get some experience of changing a tire. It's not something that we're going to be able to do, especially in the cold winter months of January and February. We're certainly not going to go outside during one of your hours of driving to change a tire unless it's necessary. But in the summertime, if we see someone that needs help with getting a jump from a car or changing a tire, we have pulled over and we have helped them. So I just wanted to show you, this person did not pull over to the side of the road right off. They kept driving until the tire actually came right off the rim. And if you take a look at the other side of the car, that's called the rim. That is where your tire is put on. And what happens when you lose the rubber and you drive on that metal, you ruin your rim. So you not only have to buy a new tire that's blown, but now you've got to buy a new rim because the rim is worn down. You've bent the edges to the rim. So make sure that when you do have a flat tire, you pull over relatively soon, depending on how severe the flat is, because you don't want to find yourself in that situation. Changing a tire, we're going to talk about this in a moment, but I came across a Goodyear commercial in Europe that talked about, or at least it shows you in a commercial, some of the negligent ways that people change tires. So what I want you to write down in your notes is the first thing that you should always remember with changing a tire is that you want to be safe. Never put yourself in harm's way to change a tire. This is why we can call AAA or a gas station attendant to come out and help us if you don't have AAA. And I think this is a good time for us to just talk about AAA for a moment. Actually, I probably should have gone in the other room. I got a bill from AAA. Maybe during the video I'll run out and see if it's actually a bill. I did see that I got something from AAA. So I'll do that in a moment. But I am a member. I have been for years and years. I highly recommend it. I do know how to change a tire, and I've done it multiple times. But sometimes, depending on the car, it's just so hard to get the lug nuts off, or it's so cold, or the weather is so bad. They have better equipment, and they can do it a lot quicker than I can. So that's one of the reasons. Plus, if you run out of gas, they'll bring gas to you. If you break down, they'll tow your vehicle for a number of miles to get it to a dealership or a garage to be worked upon. So there's a lot of benefits to having AAA. So I would think that you would try to look at that. If you don't do AAA, some car dealerships, if you buy a car, they will give you some type of roadside assistance. I think Mini Coopers are one. I know smart cars work because they didn't even have a spare tire in the back of a smart car. So depending on the car that you buy, you may already have some type of road assistance. So just kind of check into that. So let me show you these three quick commercials about problems that people had with changing tires and being safe. So hopefully you got a kick out of that. Let me put my headphones back in because I ran out to the other room and I picked up. It's funny. It just came in the mail today. Here we are. This is my AAA cards that just, oh, here we go. That just came in the mail today. And I have it deducted automatically, so they just send me my cards and the bill. Let me see here. I am the main member, so it's $53. I will tell you right now, if you had someone tow your vehicle, you're talking well over $100, $150 easy. To come out for a flat, I'm sure it's going to be much more than that. My wife and my son are a lot less. They're $31. So it's for each individual. And once you have this card, it's not for the vehicle that you're driving. It's for you. So when you drive another car, it goes with you. It doesn't go with the car, which is kind of cool. Because if my son was driving a friend's car, he could probably use his card for them to come out. And you have a app on your phone. Let's see if I can get this up real quick. If I can find it. I haven't used it, so that's why I can't find it. Well, anyways, there's an app for AAA. I don't even see it. I don't know what I did with it. Anyways, there's an app. So when you are in need of service, because of GPS, they know exactly where to find you on the highway and stuff like that. And they have record of your phone, so they've got your number. It's just the best thing to have. So more than anything else about tonight, it's good to know these steps, but AAA will solve a lot of these problems. The other thing I wanted to show you about changing a tire, and this was from a tire company. Here's the real way to change a tire and the way to do it safely.
Make sure your vehicle is parked in a safe location. A low-traffic parking lot or large paved pullout well off any busy street or road is ideal. Set the emergency brake first. If you have a manual transmission, put your car in first gear. If your vehicle is an automatic, just put it in park. Next, place wheel chocks or big rocks behind and in front of the tire opposite the one being changed. This will prevent vehicle movement and the jack from slipping while we work. Next, find your lug wrench, jack, and spare tire. These tools are often located in the trunk under the carpeting. Your vehicle's manual will indicate exactly where they are. This only applies if your vehicle has a hubcap. Many hubcaps just snap into place, but some are held on by the lug nuts. You can usually pry them off using something flat like a screwdriver. If your vehicle has covers over the lug nuts, be sure to remove them as well. Loosen the first lug nut by rotating the wrench counterclockwise just once without removing the lug nut entirely. Then, loosen the second nut directly opposite of the first one, and then the one opposite that, like a star-shaped pattern. If the lug nuts are tight, use your body weight to push down. Look in your owner's manual for where to position the jack. It's often under the frame near the tire with the flat, but not always the case. Our jack should be aligned with a thin seam line that runs under the vehicle. The factory jack has a notch cut out of it for a specific fit. Next, insert the handle and turn it clockwise to raise the car. Lower the jack if at any point your car seems unstable, and never ever get under a car that is only supported by a jack. Now, fully remove the lug nuts and place them in a secure location. Grasp the tire with two hands and pull it straight out. Then place it under the car. This is a precautionary measure just in case the jack slips. Remove any aftermarket accessories like hub rings at this point. The valve stem on the spare tire should be facing out. Then align it with the wheel studs and push it into the assembly. Tighten one lug nut by hand. Follow the same star pattern used to remove the lug nuts. Remove the flat tire from underneath the vehicle. Turn the jack handle counterclockwise and lower the vehicle. Once the vehicle is firmly grounded, fully tighten the lug nuts using your wrench, again in the star-shaped pattern. Remember to gather your tools back in place. Remove the wheel chucks and place your flat tire in the trunk. Lug nuts and lug bolts should be torqued to factory specs. You can also reach out to a local discount tire for proper torque recommendations for your vehicle. Finally, remember that spare tires are smaller and less capable than regular tires. They should only be used for limited short-distance driving. Visit your nearest discount tire.
Drifting onto the gravel shoulder of a
So he did a really good job of explaining exactly how to change a tire. It's something that I think all of you should try to do at some point in warmer weather. Have your dad, your mom, take you out. Do it right in the driveway. That way you know that you can do it. There's nothing worse than having to do something for the first time in a stressful situation. But if you've done it once or twice, you kind of know, what could go wrong. Like for me, the times that I've done it where it's really difficult is getting it on a flat surface and having the jack be able to get up high enough. That's kind of difficult. I've had the car come off the jack a couple times, and it's a little nerve-wracking. But I think, I'm starting to use the technique that he gave about putting the the flat tire underneath the car, and put the spare there too, until you get it jacked up, just in case if it was to fall down, because then you're going to be able to put the jack back up into the groove and get it up. So I thought that was very, very helpful when I found it. Whoop. Okay, I'm not going to go over that because we've already just saw the video. I'm having a hard time moving. Okay. Losing contact with the road, as in skidding, is a serious problem. So what I want you to remember is that the tires are no longer gripping the roadway. It's a steering problem, not a braking problem. So steer counter to what you want your vehicle to do. So you're thinking if the back end slides right, maybe in your mind you're thinking, oh, well, I got to turn left. No. If the back end of your vehicle is sliding to the right, that's the way you turn the wheel. Okay, so if the back end is sliding to the right, so put your hand on the table right now, that's what I'm doing, and move your back of your hand to the right. Look where the front of your hand is. You want to turn the wheel to the right to get it back to straight. If the back of the car is going to the left, so take your hand on the table, move it to the left. See how the back of your car is going to the left? Well, turn your hand now to the left. That gets it going back straight. I've only, in all the years that I've taught driver's ed, and I had a car which had the parking brake between the bucket seats, I could actually put you into a skid. Like today, with some of the parking lots had a little bit of snow. I love those days to teach people how to control a skid. We'd go around a parking lot and I'd make the back end slide out to the right, fly out to the left, and would practice turning the wheel. How much, how fast or how quickly should I get to the brake? How hard should I use it? So that was always a fun thing that we used to work on. But in the driver's ed car I have now, the parking brake is underneath the dash, and it's just too hard to, pull on the release lever. Flooded engine doesn't happen that often anymore. This is usually for older vehicles. There's too much fuel in the cylinders, so you just got to wait a little while. Wait about 10 minutes for the gas to settle, and leave those cylinders, and then start her up. It's almost like if you've ever mowed a lawn and they have that little rubber thing. It says to push this to prime the engine, and then pull the starter. Well, if you just did it more than what they recommended, you were flooding the engine and it wouldn't start. So you had to wait a little bit and then try it again. So just be careful on some of these older cars. And I mean really older, but cars now come with fuel injectors. So always test your brakes when going through deep water. It doesn't happen that often now, but the brake pads get a little bit wet. And when they think about being on your bicycle, have you ever rode your bicycle in the rain? Those little rubber pads, and you've got those in your car, but they're a little bit bigger and they're made out of composite material now, but they go up against metal. So water and rubber, water and metal, it just creates a very slippery surface. So your brake pedal will not seem like it's working at times. And this is, like I said, they're sealed now, so it's not that big of a deal. But it used to be really bad on older cars. So the term drying your brakes means to be left foot braking while right foot accelerating. Okay, think about that. We only use our right foot usually for driving, and we pivot between the pedals. But when you dry your brakes, you're putting light pressure with your left foot while you're still applying pressure with your right foot. No, left foot on the brake, right foot on the gas pedal, and it's going to create friction, and friction creates heat, and heat will dry off your brake pedal. That's how you dry off your brakes. One of the funniest answers that someone gave me, I asked on a test, how do you solve the problem of wet brakes? And he put, you hang them on the clothesline. I'll always remember this guy. He was a class clown. Didn't know the answer, so he figured I'll just give him a funny answer. So brake failure can be really scary. And usually you're going to feel the pedal start to act a little different. It's going to be kind of spongy. And if you pump the brakes, you probably will regain some of the pressure needed to stop the car. But you're going to probably know before the brakes totally go out. Now, you don't want total brake failure because then you're going to ram into something. But brake fade or brake failure is where you need more pressure than normal. There's something happening with the brake line. There could be a leak. There's a malfunction in the computer system. So what you want to do is to try the parking brake, or what we call the emergency brake. Now remember, it will slow you down, but it will not stop you. A parking brake is for parking. It's not really for regular driving, but because you are putting some pressure on those tires, it does slow the car down a little bit. Shifting to a lower gear, the gear below drive, always go to that. Look for something to sideswipe. But what I want you to put in your notes, whatever you hit, you replace, okay? So write that down. Whatever you hit, you replace. So look for things that are natural. Bushes, small trees, go up little hills. When you start hitting mailboxes, fire hydrants, telephone poles, parked cars, you're replacing those things. It's going to get really expensive. Now, hopefully you've got insurance and they'll take care of it. But if you don't, then it's coming out of your pocket. So look for things that don't cost a lot. Give people a warning. Flash your lights. Beep your horn. And if you are able to stop your vehicle, consider yourself lucky. Call AAA. Call the police. Don't drive your car. Don't drive your car. Don't think, I just got a little bit more to go. I'll be able to do this again. You might not be. You might not be so lucky. I've only had, of all these driving emergencies, only a few have ever happened when I've had students. I've had students drive and we've had to change a tire because we hit something in the road. I've had someone drive and we had brake failure in Durham, coming down Code Drive near the junior high. And we had to get the car towed from the high school. So brake failure has happened. Usually we don't get very many driving emergencies. So let's talk about the worst case scenarios. You're going to hit something. So direct collision course. Always try to slow down as quickly as possible. When you slow down very quickly, you lessen the impact. Sometimes turning the wheel left or right quickly, going for the shoulder, will help you out. And I'm not one of these people that think that you should never go left. It says here, never go left. Well, if they're going right, I don't want to go right. If they're distracted or they've got a medical condition and they're going over the center line and they're going into my lane, maybe I'm going to have to go to their lane. You got to think that out. You might be able to figure out whether they're going to swerve back or not. We've already talked about side swiping. This reduces the impact, usually with losing your brakes and things like that. Speeding up quickly when you see something is losing control, and this would probably be more in the wintertime when someone is kind of sliding through an intersection. You could see that there's going to be contact with your vehicle. If you speed up, you may miss it or lessen the impact. So you have all these situations that could happen, and you want to have a course of action of how to solve each one. All right? That way you're being proactive. You're just not closing your eyes. No lie. I had a student. We were driving, and now this wasn't where we were going to have a crash, but there was a dead animal in the road, and it was a squirrel, and it was a windy day, and the tail was moving. So I said, you should try to avoid hitting any animal, dead or alive. You don't want anything, to get caught up in the wheel well and underneath your car. So I said, watch out for that squirrel. And I think I said dead squirrel. She thought it was a live squirrel. No lie. She took her hands off the wheel and closed her eyes with her hands. All right. That was not being proactive. Okay. That was not the reaction that she should have had. So when something bad happens, you better know how to handle it correctly. Okay. That is no way to handle a situation, is to take your hands off the steering wheel and close your eyes because you don't want to see it happening. It's still going to happen. Sometimes you're just plain lucky. Okay? Never try to get hit on both sides. So when we're talking about speeding up, here's a person in a very small car. And if you look and squint really, you can actually see he's there. He's in the vehicle. And by the way, he's still alive. Okay? He did not die from this crash. But his car, look at that. That is amazing. Amazing that he did not die from that. Vehicle overheating. Pull over to the side of the road. Turn off your engine. Raise the hood, but do not loosen the radiator cap because it's under pressure. Send for help. I talked about, and this is the example that I gave, roll down your window, and I wish that they would have put this in the steps to take. Roll down your window and turn your heat on to its highest level. That will help an overheating engine because it takes the heat from the engine compartment, it brings it into the passenger compartment where you are, and that brings the heat down. Think of your oven. When you turn your oven to 350 degrees, what happens when you open up the door to put the cookies in? Some of that heat escapes and it comes into the kitchen. And if you take a look at the temperature on the oven, it drops because you've taken some of that 350 degree heat and you now replaced it with some of the cool air from the kitchen. So the same thing takes place in your car. Okay? It's really getting super, super hot in the engine compartment. You can't open up your hood. You're still driving. So what can you do? You turn on your heater, open up your windows, and you'll see the number of the gauge go down. This doesn't happen that often, but if a vehicle does go into the water, especially in New England, it probably has something to do with the car being on a frozen lake and breaking through the ice. It could be from flooding, but most people don't go off bridges. Like a lot of people think, like going from Portsmouth to Kittery, my car is going to go over the edge of the guardrail. I'm going to go 100 feet into the water. It just doesn't happen. Even in a crash, they've got the guardrails at a certain height. So as long as your car isn't lifted up, maybe a truck or a Jeep might have a more difficult time. But you're not going to go off the edge of the bridge. On some of the back roads, you could go into a river, go off to the edge of the road. And remember that cars will sink nose first because that's where the engine is. And it will usually float for about 3 to 10 minutes. So try to get out as quickly as possible because remember, if you've got electric windows and electric door locks, that once the water gets to the electrical system, it's going to short out, and then you're going to have to do everything manually. Okay, you may have to break the window, so have something in the car. I know they sell things now that you can put in your glove compartment that if you hit the side window, you're not going to break the front window. Okay, front windows don't break. You got to break a side window and go out the side. Front and back are much more difficult to break because there's a protective coating on the window and prevents it from breaking. So here's a bridge that's really doesn't have any guardrail, so you can see the car had an issue. I don't think it's going to float away, but I do think you're in water and you're going to have to get out of your car. So you got to be very, very careful with that. This is a story of a young woman. Well, actually, she was an 11-year-old girl when her accident happened. She was in New Durham with her dad and twin brother, and on a frozen lake, and the car broke through the ice, and she was submerged in the water. I believe it says here in the article that she was in freezing water for 40 minutes. So she was brain injured. She could only communicate by pointing to an alphabet board. And the reason why I took this picture is because I knew Sarah. Sarah has passed away. She passed away about 6 years ago. Actually, it's coming up really soon. Her and her parents used to go to the same church that I went to. So I've known Sarah from the time of her accident till the time of her death. It was very hard on the family. The dad never really recovered from it. But you got to be careful when you're out on the ice. You got to make sure that it's thick enough to hold the vehicle and understand that there is water current around the edges of the ice. So wherever you enter should probably be the way that you leave. If you try to leave at a different spot, maybe the ice isn't as thick as you thought. And I think that's what happened with her. And this was pretty sad. So it does happen. And I would almost bet that there's no one in this class that has been in a vehicle on a lake. See, when I was in high school and I had my license, I used to go on Winnipesaukee all the time with my car. I guess it used to be a thing of the past, ice fishing and just hanging out. But be careful. So just be careful you do it. All right. And make sure your parents know. I don't want you to tell your parents it's something that Mr. Toll does or did do. So it must be okay. I made sure the ice was thick enough, and I was always with friends, and we always knew what to do if things didn't work out. So be smart. Be smart if you're out on the ice. Headlight failure is usually a bulb, so I always like carrying an extra bulb in the car. Use any other type of light because the worst thing would be happening in the dead of night when you need your lights. So you have other lights that will light the road, so just use that and pull off to the side of the road and see what the real problem is. May have to change a bulb or maybe change a fuse. Stuck gas pedal. Keep your eyes on the road. Okay. Toyota had a huge problem with the stuck gas pedal years ago. And what was happening is people were going down a hill and they were trying to brake, but the car was still accelerating. So they were braking and the car was slowing down, but it wasn't slowing down to stop. So they were going right into the intersection without coming to a complete stop. They would have survived if they would have done step 2. The minute you go to neutral, your gas pedal doesn't matter what it's doing. Doesn't matter if it's revving because you've taken the gearbox and changed it from a drive mode to a neutral mode. So please remember this. On a stuck gas pedal, causes could be a linkage problem. It could be a carpet that's stuck underneath. But if you shift to neutral, you should still be able to use your brake like you normally do. Pull to the side of the road, see what the cause could be. Because of computers, it could be a computer problem. So once again, AAA would be bailing you out at this point. Rather than drive it and maybe have another issue with the accelerator, have it towed and have it looked at by a professional. Oh, I got the stuck gas pedal here.
Although it is a rare occurrence, your Toyota may experience a sticky accelerator pedal. You should pay attention to the operation of your accelerator pedal. If the accelerator is harder to depress than normal or slower to return, it may be a precursor to a stuck pedal. These vehicles should be parked and a dealer immediately notified. Okay, what should you do if your accelerator pedal sticks? Although it is a rare occurrence, we thought you should know what steps you should take in the unlikely event that it did occur. If your pedal sticks and won't return to its original position when you take your foot off of it, step on the brake with both feet using firm and steady pressure. Don't pump the brake pedal as it will deplete the effectiveness of the brakes. Then simply shift into neutral, that's N for neutral. And firmly apply the brakes to make a controlled stop on the side of the road. If your Toyota's transmission has a notched shift gate and you're driving in sport mode, step on the brake with both feet using firm and steady pressure. Simply nudge the shifter to the right into drive, D. Then forward into neutral, N. And firmly apply the brakes to make a controlled stop on the side of the road in a safe area and shut off the engine. Drivers who cannot put the vehicle into neutral should turn the engine off. This will not cause a loss of steering or braking control, but the power assist to these systems will be lost. If the vehicle has an engine start-stop button, firmly push the button down for at least 3 seconds to turn off the engine. Do not tap the start-stop button. If the vehicle has a conventional key ignition, turn the key to the accessory position, or ACC, to turn off the engine. But do not remove the key from the ignition, as this will lock the steering wheel. If you experience any issues with your accelerator pedal, please contact your dealer without delay. If you are not experiencing any issues with your pedal, Toyota is confident that your vehicle is safe to drive. Thank you.
So that would be a recall. On Toyotas, they had to have a recall when they started getting all these issues being called in by different people. And they had to do some research and found out there was a problem. So with a recall, they do all the work on your vehicle at no cost to you. So it's always good to go online to safercar.gov, and research, are there any recalls on your vehicle? And then you can find out if your car is up to date on all the safety issues and try to get them fixed. Power steering failure is probably a leak in your power steering module, and sometimes you can see the leaks underneath the vehicle in the hose, but the car is going to be difficult to steer. You can still move it, and steering is possible, but the slower you go, the harder it is to move the wheel. The faster you go, the kind of easier it is to make. You still can drive, but if you had to make a 90-degree turn, it's going to really be a lot of effort. Restart the car and see if the problem is still there. Sometimes it could be a computer, rebooting type of thing. If the hood flies up, it usually is because someone has checked the oil of your vehicle, and when they closed the hood, it didn't latch. There's a safety latch that prevents the hood from flying up. So when it doesn't actually click and it doesn't actually, clamp, when you get going at relatively high speeds, wind current goes through the grill of your car, and it's going to create a little bit of a pressure system, and it's going to cause your hood to fly up. Now, usually when the hood flies up, if you just drop down in your seat a little bit, you can look between the dash and where the hood hinges. You've got about a 4 to 5 inch gap sometimes, and that's going to be enough to get you off the road. Now, this is in another country, so the language is, not the best. And a lot of people, it's amazing. People must just live their life with a camera on, because I'm always amazed at what you can find on YouTube. You would think, there's no way I'm going to be able to, give students an idea of what this is like, because it's not something I could stage in the driver's ed car. I guess I could if I was just stopped and didn't move the car, but I'm not going to drive down the road with my hood up. So, but I found this on YouTube. I thought it was kind of interesting. Can you see how you can see underneath the hood just a little bit? See, that's a gap. So that's what it would look like if you were driving down the road. See, he's not going to be able to clamp it. There's just no way that that's going to work. But they weren't going extremely fast, but you could tell it's in a different country. Windshield wiper failure it's not the rubber that's the problem, it's the motor, okay? So this usually happens right down because of snow. And what you do is you burn out your windshield wiper motor. There's a motor that makes the wipers go up and down. So when there's too much pressure by snow and ice caking on the windshield, it gets too heavy, it just strips it or burns it out. If it is bad wiper blades, just carry an extra pair in your trunk and replace them when it's needed. But always try to clean off the snow and ice from a blade. Because remember, driving is vision. So if you can't see very well, you're not going to drive very well. And there's nothing worse. To me, it's like fingernails on a chalkboard. The wipers that just, make that hideous sound while you're driving, and you hear it like every 4 or 5 seconds. I always like a nice clean, wipe on my blade. Okay, let's talk about numbers now. So your car does break down in one of these situations. What should you do? Pull off the side of the road for a distance that you can be seen for 200 feet. In front of the car, behind the car. You want to give people an idea of you're there and that they can make a plan of how to get around you. So this is when they're going to go far left over the center line. Try never to park on a hill or a curve because that 200 feet will not be possible. They're going to be coming up over the top really quick, and then there you are. Now you may be involved in a crash. Always use your emergency lights. Okay, parking lights aren't bad if it's just a quick fix. If you're only going to be on the side of the road for a little bit and then back on the road. You're just dealing with something. But if the car can't move, then it's emergency. You want people's help. Remember, emergency flashes make people stop. All right? Don't be surprised. If you put emergency flashes on, you are basically telling people, please stop and help me out. If you don't want people's help, use your parking light. All right? Now, before we go on from that point, and I'm going to talk this through again on Tuesday, but I do want to take a moment to talk about getting help from other people. You are a young person, male or female. I'm not going to, say any particular gender. You've got to be safe. So anytime that you need someone's help, you may want it and you may actually need it. But I would have my phone in my pocket if you can, if you've got a pocket in your shirt, and I would videotape the people that are coming towards me to help me. If you don't want to do that, if they pull over, just take out your phone and take a picture of their car. Take a picture of them as they come. You want some proof, in the cloud that someone came, because in the worst case scenario, I read the news and I watch the news all the time. There are constantly situations where people are abducted. There are people that are, violated. There are people that are killed. It's just the world that we're living in. So first of all, before I dealt with in a driving emergency, before I got out of my car, I would text my parents and let them know what happened. Hey, Mom, I'm not going to be able to get home right off. I've got a flat tire. This is where I'm at. And you may just want to stay in your car. I would probably do that. I wouldn't get help from someone I don't know. Okay. I actually, would request that from my daughter. Not so much my son. He's 22. He's bigger and stronger than I am. So I don't fear for him as much. Although, people could still rob you. I don't care. He doesn't own a gun. If the people that come up to you do, You know, they're taking whatever you got. They know you're not driving away. So be smart. So how would people know if you're not using your emergency flashes because your battery's dead? Well, a white cloth or red in the winter is an indicator that you need somebody's help. Stay with your vehicle. Stay locked. Okay? Do the things that I mentioned. And if anything bad happens, at least we've got some proof of who came to the vehicle. Give warnings. We said be seen for 200 feet, but also use your flares that you have or triangles in your car to let people know that there's a situation up ahead. Jump starting a vehicle. All right. I made this video, so I'm going to show you how to jump start a car. All I want you to write down in your notes, so write this down. When you've got a bad battery and a good battery, you always connect red with red, black with black. Red is positive, black is negative. And you go from the bad battery to the good battery with a positive connection. And then you go negative to negative of the bad car. So let's take a look at jumping a car. Success. Okay, the best word of advice I can give you for jump-starting a car is to take your time, read in the owner's manual of how it's done. Make sure that you get a good connection. Make sure you use good jumper cables. But of the 2 driving emergencies, or 3, running off the pavement, changing a flat tire, jumping a car, you're all going to probably do at some point in your lifetime. So these are things that you should really commit to memory and do. So that takes us to the end of driving emergencies. So now let's do the midterm. Now I am going to put the password on the screen. So hold on just a second. Boom. There's your password. The link is with the remote Driver's Ed Facebook page. If you need me to send it to you via text, please send me a message right now, and I will send it to you. Take your time. I want you to try to do it closed book. I don't want the books to be open. I want to see what you know. Don't worry if you do not get a very good score. I'm more concerned about how you do for the final. But this is going to give you some idea of what you've retained for information. It gives me some idea of how you're doing, what you're remembering, and maybe what I have to go over to review for some of you. All right, so take your time and do it. Now, next Tuesday, we have driving in bad weather, hazardous driving conditions. So like I said, I need people to sign up for Saturday, Monday, and Tuesday. So we've got 3 days that I need people to schedule for, Saturday, Monday, and Tuesday, because I do not get to see you to that point. I may have to bug some of you if you don't sign up, all right, because I do want to start, because remember, we've only got 2 more weeks. Actually, our final is 2 weeks from tonight is the final. So this is more than halfway through. So we've covered quite a bit. We'll see what you know. So good luck. And I will be on my phone to answer any questions that you may have. So I would do it on your computer and leave your phone open so you can text me. All right, so sign up for drive times. Good luck on the midterm. See you next Tuesday if we don't drive, but please sign up to drive.